This is the first time I've ever seen one of these, so this is pretty cool.
too.
I mean, not seen it, but I've seen it work.
This is the first
Is
time
that
I've used
you?
it. So
Oh,
I'm
is
hoping
it?
works.
Okay, okay. All right, cool, cool.
How long have you been the principal here?
17 years.
How do you feel about the lunch program overall?
Actually, I think it has improved over the last maybe 4 or 5 years. And the way I mean improved, there's more variety for the kids to have as far as choosing lunches, and we've moved towards more healthy choices as far as selections during lunchtime.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you a few more questions,
Sure.
like more in depth with that. What beverages are offered? Do you have any idea?
Milks, there's regular milk, chocolate and strawberry, and a water. There is juice offered sometimes, but it's not a regular offering. It depends. It balances out with depending what the item is, the food item for the day.
What changes have you undergone to make the school lunches healthier?
Well, it's a little bit different here. For years, up until about, I want to say maybe 3 years ago, in our district, we did the whole lunch program. We ran it, our nutritionist ran it, and it aligned with the state guidelines as far as what we had to have nutritionally, carbohydrates, fats, etc. About 3 years ago, we are now, a company runs it, so it's a separate entity that actually runs our food services. So things have changed over that time. The changes, I think, have been good things because with a company running it, there's many more choices. Typically, the child had an opportunity to have a hot or cold lunch. They have an opportunity to have a hot or cold lunch. They have opportunities to have salad. There's an extra every single week so that they can have that. There's always bagels that are offered also as another selection for lunches. So there's more variety in the lunches. One of the things that when this company took it over, it seemed to be a high concentration of carbs. Like we'd be giving them pizza and they would tell them to give them a roll too, that type of thing. So as a district and as the principal, I said, you can't have that many carbs. So they balanced things out. So pretty much there is a vegetable, there is a fruit, there is a carb piece of it, a protein piece of it. So I think it's a better balance. I still think it's a school lunch, but I think it's a better balance.
It definitely sounds much better.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you have for the extras?
The extras, they vary per week, but there's now, as of, I want to say only a couple months ago, bagel is always one of the extras that are there. There's like, for example, during this week, it was the alternative was a corn dog or an Italian salad. So there's always a salad and some other type of hot meal that it is. Sometimes it's like baked shells and a certain type of salad that they offer. So there's always a choice as far as that part of it.
Huh. I've never heard of that before. That's why I was just curious.
Another example would be an alternate would be a fish fillet with cheese and a chicken Caesar salad. So so there's a nice variety to other things, and then there's a different hot and cold part each and every day.
Definitely sounds a lot better than a lot of things I've heard lately. Were these changes due to like district requirements or FDA guidelines or anything in particular?
Some of them, as I shared with you, were some of the things that we were seeing within district that we wanted to make some changes and have some offerings as far as that part. Salad has been something that we have tried with the kids before, and at this level, maybe not as, it's not as big of a thing. But they've added the salads again, and it seems like, it is meeting some of the kids' needs, and they do enjoy the salad piece of it. I think it's more been driven by us than it has been by the state, and us being the school district and the company that's running our lunch programs now.
How did you decide to go off the company?
You know what? There was a lot of different reasons. What our lunch program has always been self-sufficient lunch program, meaning that we were able to collect enough funds to pay the salaries, to purchase the foods, to really have it run in that manner. A few years ago, we were not being able to match the two parts of it. Things had changed, expenses, some kids were not buying lunches, and it became a greater and greater expense to the district. The district just didn't want to go with a company to save money. They wanted to go with a company that would offer some other opportunities for us. And so it was a combination of finance and also an opportunity to have a little bit more variety and be able to keep things balanced as far as expenses.
Okay, that was actually one of my later questions.
Yeah,
So then
okay.
the budget for food definitely does affect the products that you're buying.
It affected it when we were running it, absolutely. Okay, because obviously we're not obviously, but we're only six school district as far as that part of it. So our expenses would be greater than if it was a company running it, which could buy more mass products as far as that part. There were certain things that were government's staples that we were able to buy, definitely at cost, like large cans of corn and those types of things that we definitely saved money on, but it still was more expensive for us because smaller is going to be more expensive because you're not buying in quantity levels.
Right. So then if you have the choice, would you prefer the healthier, more expensive option or the potentially processed, cheaper option?
Well, I think we always want to go with healthy. I mean, I think we have to go with the best of the best that we can. However, we are a public school. We do have kids that are on free and reduced lunch, and we do have families that are in need. So we have to be able to offer something that's going to be provide the kids the nutrition that they need during the lunchtime, but at the same time also be able to be something that's affordable for families. So if they have one or two kids, it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg if they're buying lunch on a daily basis.
That makes sense. You touched on this again before, but are there specific nutrition requirements, like a set number of calories for the meal?
Actually, there are, and that's why we have a district nutritionist. Even though the company is running our kitchens, we do have a nutritionist in our district, and she has specific guidelines in developing the menus. The menus are developed monthly according to those guidelines. I don't want to give you specifics because I don't know what they are exactly off the top of my head, but I know there's a certain amount of carbs that has to go into every meal, a certain amount of protein, and it's broken down in those areas. So yes, we're looking for healthy. We're looking for as little processed. We don't fry things, we bake things. We're trying to make the healthy choices. There's always fresh fruit there for kids to take. There's always vegetables for them to take. So we're trying to give them as much variety. Again, we don't have any sodas or any sugary things like that, so it's milk or water as pretty much the choices as liquids each day.
How long have you had the nutritionist doing that?
That has been, I want to say we've always had a nutritionist. As long as I've been principal, we've had a nutritionist. So there is, we do have someone that's overseeing that aspect of it.
That's great. I've just never heard of that again before. Usually hear the worst of it. So.
Her role was previously was more overseer of managing all the kitchens, but part of that role was to identify the nutritional values and make sure we're meeting government guidelines, which we need to meet. We need to meet because of their guidelines as far as just serving lunch, but we also need to meet them because we also have kids that are receiving free and reduced lunches, so they must be at the same level as the government guidelines.
Right, that makes sense. Do you think the lunches could still improve, or do you think they're good right now?
Oh, I think they could still improve. Absolutely. I mean, what we try to do is try out certain foods to see how kids will react to it and introduce new foods along the way. And the foods that you're introducing at the elementary is very different from what middle school or high school offerings are as far as that part. So, yes, I do think there's areas that we can continue to improve on, but I think we have a little bit better variety. It's still the kinds of foods that are not nutritionally at the highest level. It's the chicken fingers, it's those types of things that are not necessarily at highest level. We don't make sandwiches with cold cuts are very far and few in between, as far as that part of it. So there's not a lot of that type of meal. And we do have a peanut butter and jelly substitute, but however that's a snackable. It's not a made peanut butter and jelly because the amount of allergies that are in schools now, kids that have now.
Do you think the allergies affects part of the menu as well?
Well, it definitely, whatever we have in our kitchens are going to address the allergies and the peanuts and the nut allergies as far as that part of it. That's why we have snackables, because they are microwavable and are baked whichever way, and there's no cross-contamination. So is that determining everything that's in here? No, but we are ensuring the safety of all the children that are here, so definitely we are free from those type of contents so that we don't have cross-contamination at any time.
That's smart. Do you happen to buy products from like any local vendors or produce vendors, local farms, you know?
We buy from some local merchants in town. Okay, we purchase some goods from businesses in town. One of the things that we purchase weekly is when we do a pizza day. That is from a local merchant in town. As far as all the other products, it's my understanding they come from the company and they're shipped to us. So I'm not really sure where the supplies would come from. I'm imagining it's more of a corporate type of thing and then distributed out to all the schools that use that particular company.
Okay. Through our research, we had just seen, it was like you want more organic and everything like that. So that's why we were just curious. We looked into the one local farm, but it's rare that you actually hear of that, like being in the schools as well. So we were just curious.
I think it's really hard in public schools because really what you're trying to do, you're trying to minimize expenses and get the most for it. And as I said, we are not running our kitchens any longer, so it would have to be a commitment of the company that's running it now to use organic products. And, organic is more expensive, so I think that's a hard sell in a public school setting.
Absolutely. Are you satisfied with the nutritional value of these foods? Then
you know what? I think some days are better than others. Okay, I think some of the offerings are better than others. We'll have days where the kids will have a breakfast for lunch type of thing, and when you look at the variety there, there's a nice balance. But there's some days that I think that are still, even though they're meeting the guidelines, I don't know if they're the ideal combinations of foods as far as that part of it. Some days are better than others, but I think the biggest thing is there is variety now, and kids have a better choice. So if I don't like it, there's something I do like, and I think the most important thing is that kids are eating and getting their energy sources and being able to do that. So I think it is a better balance as far as what we're providing now.
Okay. So then, would you feel comfortable serving the same choices like to your own family?
You know what? I think most families probably move more on the weekends towards cold cuts and things like that. I don't think they would be serving the chicken fingers and that as a regular. So I think that's sort of different. Or the other thing is I shared that on certain days there's Caesar salads or there's baked shells or something like that. I don't think those are typical things that you'd be serving at home for lunchtime. So I definitely think some of the things are absolutely fine. There's things that I wouldn't care to have at home. But then when you're making things at home, you can decide on the nutritional value and where you're going to get it from. And you have to remember here we're delivering to the masses as opposed to 5 people in a family.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful. So
good. I'm glad I could help you.